Well, I guess we're live. Looks like we have someone joining us for now. So,
Mhm.
I say we just go ahead and introduce ourselves. And we, first of all, say thanks for tuning in today. Or if you're watching the recording, thank you so much. Willow and I, we've chatted on DM a little bit. So, this is our first time to actually chat.
Yeah.
I've been very excited about. So, Willow, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and we'll just kick it off from there.
Hi, I'm Willow. Um, Willow a Witch. The Altar Awaits on YouTube. Um, and also Etsy. That's my store. My book is coming out very soon. It's called A Witch on the Edge. Willow is a pagan name that was given to me when I was 15 by my first high priest. I have a given name, of course. It's Candace, and it's easy to find when people Google me. But when I'm doing this work, and when I write, I like to just embrace that. Like, I mean, I have a tattoo of a willow tree and all that it means, why it was given to me. Um, I knew I was different from childhood. Um, but the thing is what I realized is my dad never, I grew up mostly with my dad, and he never questioned it. Like when I tell him I seen something or this or that, like he never questioned it. And it was his girlfriend that gave me my first set of tarot cards. So
That's a cool girlfriend and a cool dad,
yeah,
too. Yeah.
so that was, I was like 13 then. So I think from the kind of research I've done is I think he was kind of a bit leaning towards Golden Dawn because that's pretty much the time frame of when that was. I want
Mhm.
to make sure my phone doesn't go off. Put it on silent.
Oh, yeah, good idea.
There we go. It always does that. I'd be in the middle of a reading or something, and then people start texting, and I have a special thing that texts. So Um, I've been reading tarot obviously over 40 years. Um, Mediumship is I mean it is what it is. It's different. I have a few different techniques I do. Um, People remember me in school from running around in circles. So one of my techniques literally is walking around the island in my house, and I'll walk counterclockwise and walk and walk and walk. Right. If I'm trying to get something for like myself, or if I'm
Mhm.
talking to somebody on the phone, um, and I don't know, it just opens up the energy. And then also, people just bring stuff with them when they come into my home. They bring the energies with them. Smoke is like billowing.
So
Looks like I'm
you
on fire.
you do, readings in your home, you let people come in, and that's where you okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and online as well. I will do over the phone. I like to see faces
Mhm.
as much as possible because then you can kind of see what is there a little bit better. I know some people do them through letters. The human connection for me is just something I prefer, but I'll do it however people like it.
Mhm. Do you do readings more where you have people come in and you communicate with spirit, like that kind of mediumship, or is yours readings more, like through tarot cards and that kind of thing?
It's a combination.
Okay.
Generally, I ask two questions on my clients. First of all, because where I live, we have a very diverse population. Um, I have seven different altars, and they all represent different things. I have different spaces, like for different faith. So I make sure that I understand where they come from.
Mm.
Um, and if there's anything that's going to be offensive, and then I make sure I leave it out, right? um if you just I just want to get a feel for them, where their comfort level is, where I should go. And then I ask them, is this about you or you and like a love reading?
Mhm.
Because then I split it into two columns. Then I do the readings, I tell what the cards traditionally say, and then I tell what I see. And then when I go into the point where what I see, um, normally things come in when I'm with people, they come in the left side of my head, like this sharp ringing, and I either get some kind of a message or an image. Um, and whenever that happens, whatever point in the reading that is, I will stop and I will say, somebody is here and they have something to say. And that's how it goes. If people want specifically, they can bring a picture, um, live or dead, and I will try to read their energy as well. um, a lot of people are worried about family members and where they're gonna, how they're how they're doing. Um, so you can, through picture, you can see that. Um, I it's hard to explain them. um, I mean, I think the first time it really resonated with another person was in elementary school. I was on vacation in California and I had a vision of something that happened at home. But yeah, it's just been I've just been weird since I was born. I mean, at 6 months old, I remember dying. So, I just was weird since I was born.
It's not weird, you just have been in
Oh, in
touch
a good
with
way.
your gifts. Yeah, you're in touch with your gifts, yeah. Yeah, I've always been kinda the same way, been in touch with spirits and, that kind always been interested in the paranormal, and it wasn't until probably more recently, I would say within the past 2 years, I'm like, I'm also a witch, but I consider myself I don't I have an altar, but my biggest thing is I go out, I'm more of a green witch, I'm very in touch with nature, and when I'm in nature, I find that certain things call to me, like maybe it's a
Mhm.
pine cone that's on the ground or a specific leaf, and I bring it back and I put it on my altar. And then I will usually just create spells in my head. Like I will create spells, and I'll usually write them down and just kind of fold them up and put them on a plate next to where I light a candle. That's just kind of how I do my work. As far as like me with my sensitivity abilities, any kind of mediumship, I've never done readings for people. I've always been really nervous to do that, but I will get messages. Like for instance, one time I was on a paranormal investigation and I had this horrible pain like on the right side of my face. It was like around my jaw area. And I mentioned to the woman who owned the home, I said, Mike, I said, I'm getting a really terrible pain on the side of my face. Do you know anybody that had that kind of an issue? And she said, my brother was killed in a car accident and that side of his face was crushed.
Mm.
So I have gotten messages. I'm just not, I've never been like trained or anything like that to really be able to do readings or to be able to decipher what messages I'm getting. So that's kind of where I am as far as that goes.
Divination tools, they are tools. Like cards they're tools. They're just helping you to read the energy that's already there. Um, I don't ever tell someone to leave their marriage unless it's abusive.
Mhm.
Um, I don't, uh, you know, if we could completely predict the future, do you not think all us mediums would win the lottery?
I know. Seriously. Yeah.
So, what we can do though is read where you are now or read what you're carrying from the past or and see sometimes some choices that might happen forward. But it's never set in stone and things change. And what I really love is when I see someone and they might have been struggling, and then I see them a couple months later and they took my advice and they're doing really well. And then, because a lot of people don't come back and tell you, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, well, yeah, I took your advice and yeah, I'm doing well. Is that you wind up just running into them, or if they come back for another reading, you find out, right? But so it's very validating when that happens, and that's the whole thing, right? Like when my coma, the things I saw, it was, coming back with the ileostomy. I couldn't do the work I used to do. Um, I always read tarot, but I just read it for free for friends, just for fun, like
Mhm.
just, you know. And then it's only been in the last 3 years that I decided to actually charge for it, right? But I've been doing it, like I said, it was like at 13 is when I got handed a little tiny rider deck, this big. I wrapped it in pink silk and I carried it with me everywhere.
I like that. So,
Yeah.
Willie, you mentioned, you don't have to answer this. You don't have to go into personal details if you don't want, but you mentioned a coma. Do you feel that during that time you were actually on the other side or in the spiritual realm? I don't know what your belief system is around that, but
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've had 6 NDs.
okay.
Um, but the coma was by far the worst. Or I mean, by far the longest, biggest. Um, I mean, I coded on the table, right in front of my daughter, and the doctor's like, "Oh, sorry," and then the lights come back on and stuff. But in there, I saw a lot. I'm not going to go into it all, but the
Mm,
biggest thing that I saw was so. I'm a scholar of like traditional. The older, the better. Mesopotamian, Hermetic, um, Aramaic, like as far back as we can go now. But then I wasn't. Then I was Wiccan, right? Um, and I didn't believe in a lot of the things, but I was being carried by someone. Raphael's been in, angels been in my whole life. Um, I believe in Jesus because Jesus is teacher, or Yeshua as I call him.
mm.
His teachings are pure. Um, but I don't believe in Christianity. um, I believe in Hecate and Jesus together. To me, together they make sense. Female, male, perfect.
Right. Yep. You get
Um,
the yin and yang there. You're masculine and you're feminine. Yeah, I like it. I like it.
so in my coma, as they were carrying me, they carried me past a couple different rooms that mean different things. And it was all kind of like white and stuff. But the one room, the biggest thing was there was figureheads from every different religious doctrine, like, but they were all sitting around a table talking and laughing. And the message was just this. The seed of faith is the same in every religion. It's a tree that grows from it. It looks different because literally when you strip it down,
Mhm.
it's we were separated by continents, by the oceans, yet we still built these belief systems that honor the earth, honor each other. You know, you fight for your family or yourself. Um, and so I came out of my coma. I had a bit of a crushing ego thing to go through because before I really worked out a lot. And they gutted me from like here to here, like all the way up. Um, so it took me about 6 months. Uh, and then when we had our house fire and I got that clear message, go downstairs, the house is on fire.
Mm, mhm.
And I was in no mood to go downstairs. I was ready to go to sleep. And I went downstairs. And if I hadn't, the wind or the window was just about to break. It was cracking. It would have trapped me and my children upstairs.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
So, so after that bout of depression and kind of, and then that, it was like I kind of snapped out of it and went, okay, you have a purpose. They told you what your purpose was in the coma, why they sent you back. So now I've spent the last 6 years like studying and reading, and I write spells in 4 or 5 different languages. I like to use the traditional language. One of my teachers, a scholar, is a linguistic scholar, and I run it past him, and he helps me. Um, so that's kind of my path, is to try to make everybody understand that when we strip it down, we are at the same place, and it's okay. Um, I don't like I hate war. That's why I do that Friday thing
Hmm.
with the white candle prayer. Um, I think it's the politicians that bring war, not the people.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're like you and I. They're sitting in their homes, raising their families. They don't want that, right? We elect officials. We hope that they're going to act on our best interests, but some of them don't.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all we can do. Um, yeah, it's really interesting because you talked about how, you had the thought that you needed to go downstairs. And I think enough time, or most of the time, we don't pay attention to that kind of thing because we all have those moments and those thoughts. It's even as simple as, like taking your glass, say your glass is full of water and you put it on the table and you've got this fleeting moment that says, I really shouldn't leave that there. The cat's going to knock it off or whatever. But you don't pay attention. And sure enough, it comes off the table. Or, one thing that I have is like, so my wife and I ordered this loaf of bread. We have a woman that lives close by who bakes like these amazing sourdough loaves of bread. So anyway, the day before on Sunday, my wife's like, hey, she'll have it ready to pick up tomorrow. So if it's okay, I'll just let you know when it's ready because I work from home. And my wife's like, you can go over there and pick it up real quick. So yesterday, it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I still hadn't heard anything from my wife. And the thought comes through my mind. I was like, oh, she hasn't let me know about the bread yet. I joke. I do not joke at all when I tell you about a minute later, my wife texted me and said the bread's ready. I mean, it's just those little things. We all have them. It's just being willing to be open to it and to pay attention to it. I
And
think.
that's the thing, right? Like, so it's called Hara. It's our eighth chakra. Um, and it sits just, so you got the root and the sacral, and then it just sits just above there. It's your gut instinct, right? I teach it first when I talk about chakras because
Mhm.
everybody understands what gut instinct means.
Yeah.
And I teach people to live by it. If your gut is telling you, don't go to this place today, don't go out today, don't.
Yeah.
Like, just trust it. And in big business, right, when you have to make crazy decisions, and something is telling you this deal is off, everything on paper might look okay, and then you don't listen and something goes wrong.
Yeah.
And that is hara, and that is our gut instinct. We stop listening to it because we become um, top of the food chain. When we were prey, like people that live closer to nature have to live with beasts and stuff, but they coexist because their instinct drives them. It keeps them from stepping on that snake. Um, it alerts them when that puma is close by, you
Yeah.
know. Um, and it's that you listen to that. The heart feels, the mind thinks, the gut tells the truth.
Yeah.
That's simple as that.
Yeah. I
It's
have
so
people.
simple.
People are sometimes disappointed with me as a paranormal investigator because, I've been an investigator for years. I've been into, all of the cool little gadgets you can get. I mean, everything. I've spent way too much money on some of those gadgets. It disappoints people when they ask me, they're like, what is the best tool I can get to get started? I'm like, yourself. Your body, you are the best tool you can have. And I don't always use gadgets anymore. I will use them if I say somebody calls me because they're experiencing a paranormal activity in their home. And I'll use them usually so I can try to capture something, just because lots of times if I capture like voices or whatever, they're happy because they're like, oh my gosh, I'm not crazy. And it kind
It
of
validates.
validates them. Yeah. But when I'm going to just do an investigation somewhere on my own, like say I want to go check out a haunted theater and I get permission to do that, I primarily use my body because your body is the best indicator. And you can, I mean, whether it's sadness you feel when you walk into a place, whether it's, thoughts you get, or, I see that Donna's on here, and I told Donna, my clairaudiences can be really good. It's those kinds of things. Using your body, you are the best judge of the energies that are happening around you.
Mhm. And that's it, right? So like when people come into my home, I can feel literally like the energy, whatever they're bringing in, the second they walk in. I don't ask birth dates. I don't do the astrology first. I will do that afterwards. I want to know as minimal as possible
Mhm.
so that what I'm getting intuitively is is organic. Then we can go into, okay, your house is here and this describes your personality. And like my post yesterday, because the moon was in Gemini and it was the sun was driving me crazy. I'm very lunar. Um, and no matter where I was trying to sit, it was just like coming in, it was driving me crazy. And I was annoyed and I couldn't settle myself down. And I'm like, what do I tell everybody to do? Check the moon. Where's the moon? Oh, it's in Gemini.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. I'm very Capricorn, Scorpio. I like a tripod, right? Certain energies like knock me sideways, and um, and then it makes sense to me. But I don't run to these things first. I kind of check myself where I am, and then I go see what's happening. And it's the same with people, right? So I'll tell them what I see, what I feel from them. And then if they want me to do deeper astrology, I will as well. But I don't start off with that because I feel like that kind of gives you you know, I'm not saying it's wrong for other people, but this is what works for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you have to go with absolutely what works for you. I've worked with a lot of mediums and psychics and just people from all over the different spectrum. Chaos magicians. I mean, and everybody's got their own way of doing things. Though, I mean, I have a friend who she's a very gifted medium, and I've known her for probably about 24 years now, and she's kind of the same way. Like she likes for you to bring an object, and she'll hold the object. Like if you want, say, to get in touch with your grandmother or whatever, if you have an object, she prefers to have that just so she can touch it. And I think to her, that makes her feel like she's, I don't know, making a different kind of or a better connection. Or it's funny you mentioned like psychics knowing exact dates or winning the lottery. She actually one time gave me an exact date that something was going to happen. And she was even impressed that she had done this. But so my wife and I were selling our house. We lived somewhere else and we were selling our house, getting ready for a move. And she's like, I'm seeing the date, or she goes, I'm seeing a 3 and a 4. She goes, I can't tell you if that's an exact date that something's going to sell. I don't know if it's April 4th or April 3rd, March 4th, or whatever, but I'm seeing a 3 and a 4. Sure enough, we signed the papers to sell that house on March 4th. And we told her, and she's like, damn, I'm good, just joking. But she said the same thing you did. She's like, all I can tell you is what I see right now. But we
Mm.
still have freedom of choice. So any decision we make between now and any decision I had made between now or that time and March 4th, who knows what would have changed it.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's the thing. Like, my goal when someone comes to me is generally they're coming, sometimes it's for fun, but a lot of time it's for clarity.
Mhm.
It's they need clarity on something. And my goal is for them to leave with that clarity, leave with some comfort. And then I always follow up. Um, my readings, I used to do an hour, but I always go an hour and a half. So I've just changed it to 90 minutes.
Yeah.
If people want like a three-card spread, yeah, I'll do that. But I prefer to do the full thing because I feel like it's that way. They're really getting everything. If they need a Reiki cleanse, if you know, and it's 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 helping people get back in touch with themselves, make peace with someone that's passed, maybe, or something that trauma that they've lived through,
Mhm.
whatever it is, it's just kind of guiding them back to themselves, um, pointing it out gently. And yeah, I mean, some readings are more heavier than others. And if I see something really scary, I do say it. And like I said, like I don't ever tell people to just like um, divorce unless there's violence. I tell them to sit and have a conversation, to
Mhm.
turn off the phone, sit and look eye to eye.
Yeah.
And I give them a couple questions to ask each other, and and then you decide, like, you know, um, even if there's been infidelity, like sometimes things can move through, sometimes they can't. But to tell someone, well, you should divorce, or it just, I don't feel that that's my place.
Yeah, yeah, still give them freedom of choice and just tell them what you see and yeah. So what about, paranormal? Because I know we've kinda talked about this a
Oh,
little bit too. I know you've had some paranormal experiences. I've started the whole if people read any of my posts, I'm doing the 50 states and 50 haunted days series where I've done a lot of research on paranormal experiences all over the world pretty much. So first of all, I'm tackling the US and I will probably move on to other parts of the world. But um, obviously I'm fascinated by paranormal stories. So what kinds of story? I mean, like, have you attended paranormal investigations? And if
um,
so, what capacity?
so it's been more recent that people have been calling me
Mm,
about that. Since I started learning about the Black School St. Cyprian, I'm actually making what's called I'm calling it a Phoenix Rosary. So Phoenix is number 37 in the Goetia, and 37 is my number. It's also the Queen of Cups. So I was going to have seven skull beads and then 30 other beads. Um, and I want it to fit in the hand because a lot of times when you're counting things, it's you have to use two hands. I wanted
mhm,
something to fit in the hand. And so with Saint Cyprian, you have a book, and one side is one side, and one side is the other side, and is so I haven't started yet. But when my kids were young, we lived in Saddle Ridge in Calgary, which is a very northern suburb. And the house was creepy. Like it was just, it was off. If I was there alone, um, I slept downstairs on the couch. Um, I didn't like it. It just was the place that we could get. My kids wouldn't sleep in their bedrooms. They slept with me.
mm.
The master bedroom, when you open the closet, there'd be this stench, like of rotting, like,
Oh, mhm.
and it would come and it would go. Like sometimes it would be there and sometimes it wouldn't. We had an exterminator come because there were mice, and I asked them, "Can you like do some kind of checking outside, see if there's any holes, if something could have got in and died in the walls, right?" Like I tried to, eh, you know, even though I'm sensitive and believe in all this stuff, I I was trying to find out as many
Mhm.
logical ways as possible before jumping to this, right? But I knew there was something in that fucking closet. So we had a whole investigator group come. We had to leave. We had to take our pets and everything and leave for the day. They did an audio recording and it literally came back. We're in the closet. I have it on my old computer. So it was like, yeah, great. And I was talking to my son. I was talking to my son about this the other day, and he said, Mom, one night I slept in my bed, and he goes, I woke up and I saw this man standing over me, this scary man. And that's why he never slept in his bed again. We just talked about this like maybe a month or two ago. Um, but I had a big king size bed, and I believed in co-sleeping with my kids anyways. They just had rooms optional when they wanted them, when they were ready. So but yeah, in that house it was um that energy was dark. They did a
Mm.
about the land. There had been different deaths on the land. It was a new development, so
Mhm.
it unsettles things, right? When you're tearing up the land, it makes things unsettled. Um, and see, the thing is, a lot of people, when you're empathic, intuitive, you're like a beacon. If you
Mhm.
don't place protection over yourself all the time, you're like this big beacon for every spirit, good, bad,
100%.
angry, sad, happy. You're a beacon for them. You're a light. They come in, they come towards you. Um, and my daughter is sensitive. I'm pretty sure my son is too. We just don't talk about it too much. But it's like passed down my whole family, my mom, my grandma. Like that's why I do that. I'm doing that curse breaking, right? The 13 lunar curse breaking. This month, I've had to pause and then restart next month because of the hospital thing. To be breaking a curse and battling demons when my brain was essentially injured is dangerous. And I don't preach uh, dangerous magic or um, I've done some real stupid shit. So in my book, I warn people about don't do this stupid stuff.
Mhm.
Um, Even though you might be curious, if you are, do it in a nice way. I'm still following 13 lunar cycles, but taking that pause is stronger than pushing through something and then something going wrong, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that house, that was crazy ass. And yeah, it was just always creepy. I think, we did there were a priest that came, cleansed it, we smudged it. The people lived downstairs, always had sweet grass and stuff going. Eventually we moved. The
Yeah.
next house we moved to, we lived in for most of my kids' lives. There was a big portal downstairs. Oh my gosh, that was a big house. That was the one with the fire. That's where my coma. So I had an allergic reaction to medication. My husband was giving me CPR. I was blue on the floor. That house and the woodpeckers. Yes.
Ooh, yeah.
Mhm.
You mentioned a good point too when you're talking about protection because you know like for say paranormal investigations, I always have like a certain amount of protection because I am very empathic and
Yep.
intuitive, and there's only one instance, and I wrote about one of my writings, but there's one instance where I felt like something did attach to me and come follow me home, but it was there briefly. It's like she was there just to share her story with me briefly, and then she left. But I am a huge advocate of, some people when they investigate with other people, they're like, hey, I'll just go with anybody. But I am very, very selective about who I will walk into paranormal situations with, just because you don't know what kind of crap they're bringing. They could have had a really bad day, and who knows what has attached to that. You don't know what their methods are as far as investigating, because I have seen people. There's a television show which I do not want to mention here, but he provokes horrifically. I do not agree with the way he does this at all. But I had a guy try something like that. That was before that television show, and he was attacked. He was the guy that was with me was physically attacked. So I'm huge about I'm a huge advocate of investigating with people that are really kind of in the same, that are in a good space, and that are respectful of walking into a spirit's environment, because you are walking into their home.
Mhm.
And protection is also, it's a really big thing, because you just don't know. I don't want to say you don't, I'm not going to scare people in thinking that someone's going to follow you home, but you just don't know what kind of energy could attach to you at any given time. Not necessarily a quote unquote traditional ghost, but you may have an energy attached to you that you don't want to take home with you, or you don't want to take with you wherever else you go, to your family or wherever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even when like people come to my home, before they come, I sage and cedar, and after they leave, I sage and cedar
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's yeah, it's I mean, I have a ton of different protection things in my home now,
Yeah.
and literally like I wear different things, and I've done rituals on different objects to make them protective. Um, but respecting yourself, respecting the unknown, because we don't know too much.
Hmm.
Like I know what I've seen, what I feel. I know when I hear certain voices in my head, they're different from my own voice telling
Hmm.
me. They're two different sounds. Um, you have to respect and to treat that radically, or I mean, people can do that, and I guess they will pay the cost of it. I know I've met a lot of people that are very left hand path, and they're not balanced, and they all have the same ailments, like literally the same sicknesses. You have to be balanced. I've
Hmm.
done the left hand path, but I've done the right too. And I sit in the middle, right? I go this way or that way, depending on what I got to do, where I have to go, what is necessary of me. Um, but maintaining that balance is extraordinarily important.
Yeah. 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 Spirit communication. You talk about how, it's not your own voice. Yeah, that's been the most difficult thing for me to decipher. But I think for me, it almost comes as like a knowing. I mentioned that spirit that followed me home that time, and I wrote about it. I wrote an article about Orange Socks, and if people aren't familiar with her, she was a victim of Henry Lee Lucas, a serial killer,
Mm,
and he killed her. And she was wearing orange socks when they found her. Nobody knew who she was. She was identified for until more recent, but nobody knew who she was. So she was just termed Orange Socks, or referred to as Orange Socks. Well, we were investigating a cemetery where she was buried in Texas, where I'm from, and her grave said, unknown woman for a very long time. And that night, and there was also the grave of another unknown woman. That night after that investigation, I went home and I was woken up by, the only way I can describe it is that this warm air was going down my throat. It's like I woke up and I was gasping. I went when I woke up, and it just felt like this warm air was rushing down my windpipe. And right then in my mind, I had this knowing, and I just said, she was a prostitute, and she wanted to let someone know that she was killed. And I knew that. It's like I had all that knowledge all at once about her. And I acknowledged her. I said, and I felt this sadness, and I said, I see you and I feel you, and you have been heard and seen. And that was it. I feel like
yeah.
that's just what she wanted, you know. So yeah, for me, it was like that. It wasn't a voice. It was just like this knowing all of a sudden. And I've had that happen before. And I haven't really like investigated too much into any of it. It's just when that happens, it's like I know there's some kind of a spiritual or a spirit trying to communicate with me in some way.
And I mean, for everybody, it's always it's different,
Mm,
and it's and I was astro traveling. So
mm,
a lot of people don't know that when you astro travel, you need to make sure you're tethered to yourself before you do this. Um, because things can attach to you and come back with you when
mm.
you go places. I used to astro travel a lot when I was very young. Um, but now how I teach people is I teach them to tether. I tell them to have an odd object so that when they see that, if there something's off, that they can snap back, right? Um, and it is like it's just responsible magic, responsible
Mhm.
practices, whether dark, whether light, whatever it is, there has to be an element of responsibility attached to that. And it's different for every person. Like I've seen some people, they scribble on paper and that's how they get a message, or
Oh yeah,
you know,
like
for
automatic writing or something.
yeah, for you, like it's like you're feeling it in your body, and that is. And so have you done Kundalini awakening? Like have you worked all your chakras, gone all the way up? And
No, I haven't. Yeah, my wife is more into the Kundalini side. She's like, "Hey, you really should work more with that." So you're the second person to mention that. Yeah, because my wife she's very much empathic and intuitive as well. So yeah.
I think it would be like, in my opinion, um, you don't have to explore it deeply. There's ways to do it that aren't as you don't need to do crazy ice baths or marathon sits or anything like that. There's ways to do this. I mean, it's happened to me spontaneously a few times. Um, and then like I'm there all the time, but it's sometimes it's louder. Um, but it's good to work all the way up through the body, because when you start with the disillusion of self, and then bring your identity, and then working up, um, it just hones everything a little bit better. And yeah, like you don't have to do crazy fastings or anything like that. um, there's a book called Shakti Rising by M. Radi. I have it in my audio book. I have a technique that I teach, but this one is also very, very gentle. Um, because you say that you're so in touch with your body, right? Like, and that's how you get the messages.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
that's why I would think that it might be. Yeah, her name is Kavitha M. Chiniana MD, called Shakti Rising. Yeah, that's the one that I first well, I've done it a couple times with that one. But when I woke up from when I died from COVID, I woke up completely awake, where the walls were buzzing and I could hear conversations like rooms away. And it was very bizarre. It took me a moment to gather myself, but I knew I was dying, right? Like on the way to the hospital, I told the paramedics I'm dying, because this was after I'd already had my coma. My body knew what was going on. And that's the thing. So, like this, the body based stuff. So then learning that, and just always trust that. Just
Mhm.
always trust it. Let it override this, let it override that. Always trust it.
Yeah. No.
You'll never regret it.
Appreciate that. Yeah, it's a really good thing to remember. And, something I encourage everybody to do, typically when you have like gut feelings or whatever, pay attention to it because you might really be surprised at what, getting in touch with your body can tell you, especially if you're interested in any of this kind of work, whether you're interested in delving more into the paranormal and doing investigations or, the type of work that Willow's doing. It's your body is your best tool, I feel. Did anybody have any questions? I haven't seen anything come through the chat yet, but I just want to check.
Yeah,
Just
I was looking a little bit
yeah, I
too.
haven't seen anything. I
I
see.
see a few people here,
Yeah,
a couple I know.
yeah, I've seen a couple here too as well. It's good to do these cross posts because you get people from both yours and mine, and it's the same with everybody I chat with. But yeah, any questions? Going once, going twice. Thanks all y'all for being on here though. We've got Sushi, Jen of Mindhaven, Travis Knight. Hey Travis, how's it going? Rebel Heart, Thomas Tiernan,
Well,
yeah, Psychic Media, Donna Frasca, and J.A. Evans. J.A. Evans sounds like an author's name. That's like
yeah.
a very strong author name.
Mm.
So that's a good one. Yeah.
It's nice though that like people are a lot more open nowadays, as as in the past.
Oh, Rebel Heart.
Can't think of anything right now. Uh, when you said so more recently, I've been getting calls of people that have had like they're like, well, this is happening in my home. It's kind of why I decided to take the Black School course on Saint Cyprian. Um, so I literally have like holy oil, water, um, and it's a Cyprianic is big, um, but it's different. And the other day when I wasn't feeling well, because I've only been home from a hospital for I don't know 4 or 5 days, whatever. So I'm not doing too much, but enough. Every day I'm feeling better, but so that's what came to me was I need to make a rosary to working with him. Um, and that's when it came to me, okay, the Phoenix Rosary for people who have gone through flames and come back and that needs something that they can have in one hand. If you're walking into a space that's a bit cringy, can be in your pocket and you can go through it, 3 times will be 111, which is a perfect number. Once is fine too. 3 and 7 is 10 is completion. um but so it came to me like I'd gotten these little beads and stuff, so I'm open to going to places and helping people with that if need be. So I decided to get the skills that were necessary for what's called baptizing demons and whatnot. That if you're walking into a place where something like that is happening, I will have the skill set and the knowledge to handle the situation properly.
Oh, yeah, very cool. Yeah, I had some. I wrote an article a while back about some people. It was a couple, and I think they were both maybe retired police officers or something like that. But they had started. They were demonologists, and that's what they did. And I had reached out to them to see if I could get them for an interview, and they were open to it. They just said it might be a while because they were really busy. So yeah, that really fascinates me. And I think it's important that we have people to do that work because there are people that do have some darker things in their homes that need help. They need that validation, and it may be something that does the energy may need to be clean. So that's really important work.
And sometimes the church is like it's really sticky about
Yeah. Oh
coming
yeah.
out and helping. So then people are stuck. Or if their belief set isn't a certain way, then they don't know where to turn, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's why like I have spaces like it doesn't matter what faith you are. Um if I have to sit with somebody and pray in their language, I will. Whether I'm pronouncing it properly or not, I try to be as authentic as possible. I make sure I look up what makes sense for them. Um, and it's just honoring everyone's individuality. And then with the spirit realm, like with people that with ones that haven't crossed, like you said, how it was just simple as acknowledging and basically sending her some acknowledgement and love. And that's all she needed to kind of
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
And it can be that simple,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know? And that's just it's a releasing that energy to go where it needs to be instead of stuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Like when something comes in and it rings, but then it gets plugged, then I know it's a stuck energy. Like it's an earthbound, really stuck. It's not a message. It's something that's more stuck. It's a bit harder to decipher. Um, and and then there's been um, a couple other people that have had coma experiences I've talked to, and they've gone to some very dark places. I've met them. I met this one man, I touched his hand, and I literally seen where he went, and it was horrifying.
Yeah.
And I do believe that at the end of the day, what you do in this life, you will have to answer to any grievous mistakes. You will have to write them in a way.
Yeah. I gotcha. Yeah.
For me to go through my whole coma, why I believe this, um, what I was shown, um, but I believe like people that are really evil in this life, that they don't just get forgiven
Yeah.
like that, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. I understand that for sure. And we find that in a lot of like belief systems. I think that there's some way that you in some way have to atone, whether it's I've heard some people say they had these life after death experiences where they were made to feel the pains that they caused other people during their lifetime. And so yeah, I'm very open with religion and different spiritual paths. So I am kind of like what you said in the very beginning. I think they all kind of have the same roots and eventually do lead to the same place. I think we just need to find what works for us and make sure it's something that doesn't harm other people. Because I mean, I'm not going to get political, but we've been seeing a lot of that lately. So I'll just kind of start to wrap it up from there. But anyway, so
Yeah, no, politics is, yeah, I vote, um, but it just, you know, it's, that's why I do the prayer because I can rant, and I did rant when I was in the hospital because of the conditions of how our country has declined. I know in the US too. I run an ileostomy group. So I mean, I talk to women all the time. They're in the hospital, and they tell me the conditions, and it's just as bad there as it is here.
mm,
Um, and that is because of like gas prices. Holy Dinah, right? Like, who can afford this stuff, right?
it's crazy. Let's keep up those prayers, Willow. And if you're tuning in from my channel and you want to join one of Willow's, she does these prayers on Friday. So check out Willow's page. She's got some cool stuff on there. You can see like some of her altars, and I'm assuming you'll have your book, like a way people can get your book and everything on there too, Willow. Okay, yeah. Check
Yeah,
out
yeah.
Willow's page. Subscribe to her page. Check out her book when it comes out, and let us know. Keep us posted. Let me know, and I'll cross post it onto my page too, and we'll make sure people see it. I'd like to start keeping a list of trying to set up my page more like kind of it's a website. So I'd like to have an area where we put people's books. So if you're watching this and you've got a book as well that's somewhere in the world of paranormal, or just let me know and I'll be sure to post that so we can do that for each other. I know
What
Travis.
is the most like for you? what was the most place that you went that was that has sat with you?
as far as an investigation goes.
Mhm.
Mine was, I've had a lot of investigations, but I'm going to say one was I investigated this. It was a haunted location with like land around. It was like a historical area in Texas, and most people go directly to where there was a hanging tree over it, and there's a hole where they would cut body or cut people off the hanging tree. So that's where most investigators go. But I decided to investigate the land right next to it. There's like these open fields. And when I was there, I had an encounter with a spirit. It was kind of one of those feelings again. I had this overwhelming sadness. And in my mind, I was getting the image of what I knew was a young girl. And I saw in my mind a tarp. And I saw a arm with a hand with blue fingernail polish sticking out from under the tarp. Now this is all in my mind's eye. And I knew it was a young girl. And I told the person that I was investigating with, I was like, I'm gonna have to step away because the feeling of sadness is just too much. And we had the recorder going at that time. And the next day he called me, he said, You're not gonna believe this. But at that time, when I was mentioning I'm feeling this sadness, we got a female voice of a younger sounding female, and she said I could have lived for something. And that one has stuck with me. So yeah, that's probably been 20 years ago, and I just haven't forgotten it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's always something, right? There's
Yeah.
always something that
There's always that one. Yeah. A lot of them, I've been very attached to and still remember, but that one just really spoke to me because I felt her sadness. Yeah.
if you
More.
ever come up to Canada, I would love to go.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'll let you know if I'm ever up around in the Canadian area. I don't live too far from there, and my manager at work lives there, so you never know. I've been talking about having a get together in the Canada. He's in the Victoria area, so
Mm.
yeah. But
Yeah, I lived on the island. I miss the ocean. We're in Alberta.
yeah,
Um, but where we live is close to a lake, so at least there's water. Um, but yeah, I miss the ocean. But we still have the mountains very close. I mean, it's still beautiful here. It's a bit out of the city, but the city's moving closer with industry, like
well,
right across. I used to pick sage and lavender right across there. Now there's a whole community of houses and they
we'll have to get a
dug up all
Substack
that.
group together sometime, and we'll lead people on an investigation and have a good time. We'll make it a well. I was going to say a party. For me, it would be a party, but
Yeah.
Well, we're right at about an hour, Willow. So thank you so much for our chat today. I like these. I like to just do chats. And if anybody's watching this and you just want to come on and chat about your experiences, let me know. We'll get something going. We'll get something on the books and scheduled. So hey, I think Rebel Heart mentioned that they questions would probably come after. I think you could still, even in the recording, you could probably put questions down and we'll watch and see if we see anything and can answer it for you. So
Next week, I'm going to be starting a live talking about medium and talking about what it's like when you're young and you're different. Um, and I invite everybody from every um, part, if they're interested, to get in touch with me. Um, I want to hear your stories of how it feels like. I know what it felt like for me being different and growing up. And yeah, I want to hear a story. So get in touch with me. I'm gonna start that. See how
thank
that goes.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. And thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful week. And I'll be posting my next state haunted story from a haunted state later. So stay tuned for
Did you
that.
watch that movie? I thought it was real. And then afterwards somebody's like, oh, it's fake. But it looked so real. I was in the hospital or whatever. So I was like, oh, I'll just use my head. But yeah. that was because it says the detectives, right? And then and there's like it's a not a not documentary, a mockumentary.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, oh, thank goodness, because I thought I know all the serial killers. Never heard of Mr. Shiny. I thought that was funny, but yeah,
Thanks.
it's a good watch. It's a good watch.
It's a good way to end the interview. Thanks, Willow. Have a good day. And thanks, everybody, for tuning
Yeah.
in. Y'all take
Bye.
care. Bye.